Today's story is a stunning tale of love, power, and the invisible walls that divide us. A rich girl meets a man who was only supposed to paint her walls, but ended up changing her life. Subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and leave a comment below. For every new subscriber, I'll donate $1 to a charity that helps people rebuild their lives. The Vance estate stood like a monument to wealth. Tall columns, endless lawns, imported stone from Italy. But behind its cold, perfect facade lived a girl named Clara, who felt like a stranger in her own life. At 23, Clara had never taken a train alone, never tasted street food, never been kissed without someone watching. Her world was curated: art lessons, charity events, and dinner parties, where she smiled politely and said nothing real. That morning, she was sitting by the window with a book she wasn't reading when the service gate buzzed. A white truck rolled in, dust on its wheels, and a ladder strapped to the top. From it stepped a man in jeans and a plain black shirt, holding a bucket of paint. Clara watched him approach the side entrance. There was something unbothered about the way he moved, like someone who didn't care if the world was watching or not. He rang the bell and waited, eyes scanning the vast front of the estate without a hint of awe. Mrs. Donnelly, the housekeeper, let him in and showed him to the guest lounge. Clara followed, curious. From the hallway, she peeked in. He was taller than she expected. His hands were strong, covered in dry paint from jobs before. When he turned slightly and saw her standing there, he didn't look surprised. He smiled politely. "Good morning," he said. Clara blinked. "You're the painter?" "That's right. Name's Mason. Here to take care of the lounge and the study. Should take a few days." She stepped into the room, barefoot on the cold marble. "I didn't think painters looked like you," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "I don't know. Older maybe. Less calm." He gave a short laugh. "Years of climbing ladders does that to you. You either panic or breathe through it." Mrs. Donnelly cleared her throat from behind her. Clara turned quickly and excused herself, cheeks a little warm. Throughout the day, she found excuses to pass by the lounge. He worked with quiet focus, not rushing, not performing. He didn't whistle, didn't check his phone. He simply painted brush to wall, step by step. During lunch, she lingered in the garden, just outside the open window where he was working. He noticed. "You live in a castle," he said. She smiled. "It's more like a museum with people in it." "You like it?" "Not really. It's beautiful. But it's not mine. It belongs to my father's money." He nodded, understanding in his eyes. "You?" He leaned on the window frame. "I belong to whatever job puts food on the table. I paint walls so my mom doesn't lose the house. That's about it." Clara stared at him. He didn't say it like a complaint. He said it like a fact. Most men who came to their home avoided eye contact or tried to impress. Mason did neither. He wasn't there to win anyone's favor. He was simply himself. That evening, at dinner, her mother mentioned the painter. "He's quite rough around the edges," she said. "I hope he won't leave stains." Clara stirred her soup without answering. That night, she found herself thinking of his hands, how steady they were, how he looked her in the eye, like they were equals, like she wasn't just another rich girl behind glass. She didn't know it yet, but something had begun, something small, something irreversible. The next few days passed quietly, but something in the air had changed. Clara found herself waking up earlier than usual. She would come down before breakfast just to pass by the lounge where Mason worked. Sometimes she brought tea she claimed was for Mrs. Donnelly, but she lingered too long. Other times, she simply stood nearby, pretending to look at old paintings or choose new curtains. But Mason noticed. "You know," he said one morning, as he taped the edges of the baseboard, "if you stare at someone painting for too long, they start to feel like a zoo animal." Clara smiled. "I'm just learning the craft." He glanced over his shoulder, planning to quit the mansion life and become a house painter. She shrugged. "Maybe. I'm not very good at being what I am." What are you? Are a vase on a rich man's shelf, pretty, silent, breakable. Mason stood up, wiping his hands on a cloth. His gaze was steady. You don't seem breakable to me. She looked away, suddenly shy. They began to speak more after that. It started with small things, shades of beige, texture of walls, which rooms got the best light. But then came music, books, questions about dreams and disappointments. One afternoon, Clara asked him what he would do if money wasn't a problem. Travel, he said. See the world, not the tourist parts. The hidden places. Why haven't you? Because I'm not done fixing things here. There's always something to patch, someone to help. She leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. You speak like someone twice your age, and you watch me like someone looking for a way out, he replied gently. Clara's breath caught. He wasn't wrong. No one had ever spoken to her like this. Not the sons of CEOs her parents introduced her to. Not her tutors, her friends, her family. Mason didn't see her wealth, he saw her restlessness. Her fear, her curiosity. It was terrifying and magnetic. That evening at dinner, her mother set down her silverware with a pointed click. You've been spending a lot of time near that man, she said. Clara didn't look up. His name is Mason. Her mother scoffed. Yes, the painter, they come and go. Darling. You don't make eye contact with people like that. It invites misunderstandings. Clara lifted her gaze slowly. For once, she didn't soften her voice. Maybe I want to be misunderstood. Her father looked up from his wine. Her mother froze. You're being childish, Clara. Am I? She stood, napkin falling to the floor, and walked out without a word. In her room, the chandelier shimmered above her like ice. Everything around her was polished, expensive, and lifeless. She looked out the window, and saw the soft glow from the guest lounge below. Mason was still working, still moving with that calm certainty she envied. He didn't belong to her world. But maybe, she didn't either. The next day, she brought 2 coffees down to the lounge. Mason looked up, mildly surprised. For me? No. For the wall, she said. He chuckled and took the cup. They sat on the floor for a few moments, surrounded by drop cloths and scent of fresh paint. I think I hate this house, she said. Why? Because it never lets me feel anything real, and now, she met his eyes. Now I do. He didn't respond. But the silence between them felt warm, not empty. There was no music, no perfume, no orchestration, just a girl with questions, and a man who never pretended to have the answers. But what they had, in that moment, was more honest than anything she had ever known. And honesty, in her world, was the rarest luxury of all. It happened on a quiet Wednesday afternoon. The air was still, the sky pale and heavy with summer heat. Clara's small white dog, Oliver, had wriggled his way out of the courtyard and slipped into the estate's vast parkland. Panic rose quickly. She called his name over and over, her voice breaking as she ran along the trimmed hedges. The dog was old, nearly blind and prone to wandering. Her parents were out. The staff didn't seem concerned, but someone did hear her. Mason dropped his brush the moment he saw her running barefoot across the lawn. What's wrong? He asked, already following Oliver. He ran off toward the park. He doesn't know his way. Without a word, Mason took off in the direction she pointed. Clara stood frozen, breath caught in her chest. 15 minutes later, Mason returned. His shirt was torn at the shoulder, a streak of dirt on his cheek, but in his arms was a trembling, whimpering Oliver. He was stuck in a wire fence, Mason said, lowering the dog gently. Clara knelt down, tears streaking her cheeks. She stroked the dog's fur, then looked up at him. You found him. I wasn't going to let you lose him. For the first time, she saw something more than calm behind his eyes. Worry, protectiveness. tenderness. Later that day, Clara found him sitting beneath a tree near the edge of the woods behind the estate. The sky had started to turn gold. She brought 2 lemonades and sat beside him, without asking. "Thank you for earlier," she said. He nodded, eyes on the horizon. "It's nothing." "No. It meant something to me." A long silence. Finally, he spoke. "My father was a banker. Big house, 3 cars, dinner parties. When I was 16, he lost everything in a bad investment. He couldn't handle the shame. Left one morning. Never came back." Clara turned her head slowly. "I'm sorry. Don't be. I learned more mopping floors than I ever did in that big house. Learned who I was, what I'm not." She stared ahead at the swaying grass. "I don't know who I am. Every part of my life is scheduled, chosen. Clothes, friends, even who I'm supposed to marry. Sounds lonely. It is." Their hands brushed as she adjusted her seat. Neither of them moved away. He glanced at her, and something passed between them. Not sudden, not dramatic, just real. "I feel like I breathe differently around you," she whispered. He didn't answer with words. He leaned closer. Their lips met, not carefully, not with permission, but with hunger. The kind that builds over days of stolen looks, unfinished sentences, and what-if silences. His hand cupped her cheek. Hers pressed against his chest. For one long second, the world around them vanished. The expectations, the rules, the risk. Only they remained. Then a sound, a quiet mechanical whirring, reminded them of where they were. The garden camera, tucked discreetly near the hedge, its red light blinking. Clara pulled back. The camera. Mason sat back, breathing heavily. They stared at it. No words were needed. They both understood the consequences. Inside that kiss lived something dangerous. Not just desire, but rebellion. They had crossed a line, and someone, somewhere, had seen it. The next morning, Clara felt something shift in the air. A tension pressing against the windows, settling in the corners of the rooms. Her father was home early. That never happened. She heard his voice echoing from the study, low but sharp, the kind of tone that meant someone had done something very wrong. By noon, the house was in full lockdown. The security guards unusually alert, the maids hushed, and the staff avoiding eye contact. Clara's heart raced. Then, just after lunch, she was called into the library. Her father sat behind his massive desk, face like stone. Her mother stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. "Sit down, Clara." She obeyed slowly. "Do you want to explain this?" He tapped a remote. On the screen, the garden camera footage played. It was her and Mason. The kiss, the moment, everything. There was no sound, but the image said enough. Her face burned. "That is completely unacceptable," her father said. "Do you have any idea who that man is?" "Yes," she whispered. "His name is Mason, and he is a worker. He came here to paint a wall, not seduce my daughter." "He didn't seduce me," Clara snapped. "I kissed him because I wanted to. Because he sees me, not the version you parade around at charity galas." Her mother stepped in. "You're confused, darling. He's dangerous. These people come into our homes and take advantage of our kindness." Clara stood up. "He saved Oliver. He listens to me. He's more decent than half the men you try to introduce me to." Her father's face darkened. "Enough. I have already taken care of it." "What do you mean?" "He's gone. Gone. I fired him, and I've hired someone to look into his background. I won't have a liar under my roof." Her voice cracked. "You had him followed. He has a record, Clara. Something in his past. Not theft. Worse. I'll have the details soon. She felt like the floor tilted beneath her. You don't even know what happened, and you've already judged him. Her father's tone dropped, cold and final. You are not to leave this house. Your phone is disabled. Until I'm sure you're thinking clearly. Your freedom is a privilege, not a right. Clara stared at him, stunned. This isn't protection. This is a prison. Her mother touched her shoulder. You'll thank us one day. Clara pulled away. That night, she tried every exit. Locked, guards stationed. Her room monitored. Her heart pounded with panic. Not because she was trapped in the house she'd known her whole life, but because Mason was out there somewhere, and she couldn't reach him. His number no longer rang. His Instagram was deleted. His truck gone. The next morning, as the maid brought in breakfast, she found something tucked into the frame of her window. A small note. Handwritten. Folded. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Clara, I didn't want to hurt you. That was never the plan. I should have never let things go so far, but every time I saw you I forgot how the world works. I'm sorry for the chaos I brought to your life. I wish things were different. She clutched the note to her chest, eyes stinging. He was gone. No goodbye. No location. No explanation. Only silence. But something inside her, something fierce and unshakable, began to grow. They had taken everything. Now she would find out why. Clara felt the walls closing in tighter than ever. The silence left by Mason's sudden disappearance echoed louder than any argument with her parents. Determined to uncover the truth, she refused to wait passively for answers. She started digging quietly. Late at night, hidden behind the glow of her laptop, she searched public records, social media scraps, and any trace that could tell her more about Mason. The further she went, the more she realized the man she thought she knew was living a life shadowed by secrets. Her best friend Emily noticed Clara's obsession and, after persistent questioning, reluctantly handed over a piece of information Clara had not expected. It belonged to Mason's mother, a woman who lived on the outskirts of town in a small, run-down house. Clara knew she had to see for herself. Disguising herself as a volunteer from a local charity, she approached the modest home with a mixture of hope and fear. The paint was peeling, the garden unkempt, but there was a quiet dignity in the way the house stood against time. She knocked. The door creaked open slowly, revealing an older woman with weary eyes that flickered with cautious curiosity. "Hello, I'm here from the volunteer center. We're checking on the welfare of families in the area. May I come in?" The woman nodded silently and stepped aside. Inside, the small living room was sparse, but every detail told a story of struggle and resilience. Clara hesitated but then spoke from the heart. "I'm Clara. I'm looking for Mason. I want to understand him better." The woman's eyes softened. She gestured for Clara to sit. "Mason is my son. You don't know what you're getting into." Clara leaned in, urging gently, "Please, I want to know everything. Who he really is. What happened to him." The woman sighed, fingers nervously twisting a faded handkerchief. "Mason was just a boy when everything fell apart. At 17, he was caught in something he didn't do. A theft he had no part in." Clara's eyes widened. "Why?" "Because his older brother was involved. And that brother had a son to care for. A little boy who needed a father. Mason took the blame to protect him. That's why he disappeared after the incident." The woman nodded. "He spent years in juvenile detention. It broke him. But he fought to come back, to live honestly, to make a new life far away from the past." Clara's mind reeled. She saw Mason's quiet strength in a new light. His distance, his caution, his refusal to get close too quickly. "But there's a danger in digging up these things," the woman warned, her voice trembling. "My son barely escaped the shadows of his past. If you pull too hard, you might drag him back into that darkness. Clara's resolve hardened. I have to try. For him. For us. The woman studied Clara for a long moment, then nodded. I hope you know what you're doing. As Clara left the house, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch after her. The truth was more complicated than she imagined. But now, with the pieces beginning to fall into place, there was no turning back. Her fight wasn't just against her family's judgment anymore. It was to clear Mason's name, to break the chains of a past he never wanted, and to claim a future they both deserved. Clara found Mason on a dusty construction site at the edge of town, where he worked without proper papers, hiding from the world that wanted to crush him. The sun was low, casting a warm orange glow over the half-finished walls and scattered tools. Mason wiped sweat from his brow, his eyes dark and guarded as he noticed her approach. She stood at the gate, heart pounding, unsure if he would even speak to her after everything that had happened. Mason didn't look surprised, but his face hardened. He crossed his arms, leaning against a stack of bricks. You shouldn't be here, Clara. You don't know what you're walking into. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. I know everything now. About your past. About why you left. And I still want to be with you. He laughed bitterly, a sound full of pain. You don't understand. The past isn't something you can just leave behind. It follows me everywhere. It's in every look, every whisper, every door that closes. Clara stepped closer, her voice steady but filled with emotion. Then let's run away. Start over somewhere no one knows us. No one judges us. We can be free. Mason's eyes flickered with a mix of fear and frustration. I can't drag you into this mess. You don't know what it's like to live like this. Always looking over your shoulder. Always hiding. I won't let you get hurt because of me. The silence between them grew thick, the weight of the moment pressing down. You're scared, Mason. I get that. But love isn't about running away from fear. It's about facing it together. He looked away, his jaw clenched. The fight inside him was evident, the desire to protect her clashing with the hope she sparked. Finally, she spoke, her voice low but unwavering. If you leave now, it's not me who lost. It's you who gave up. Mason's eyes met hers, full of pain and something else. Respect, maybe even hope. For the first time he didn't look away. She held out her hand. Come with me. Fight. With me. He hesitated, the walls he had built around himself trembling. And then slowly, he took her hand. In that moment, under the fading light, two worlds collided. A love born from struggle, and a choice that would change everything. Mason stood at the iron gates of the Vans estate, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows over the manicured lawns. The security guards immediately noticed him, their eyes narrowing as he walked calmly toward the front door. Word had clearly spread. Everyone was watching. Inside, Mr. Pratt Vans sat in his leather chair, sharp suit immaculate, his expression cold and unreadable. Mason's footsteps echoed in the marble foyer as he approached. I'm here to speak with you, Mr. Vans. The older man looked up, eyebrows arching in surprise but quickly masking it with disdain. What business does a man like you have in this house? Mason met his gaze without flinching. I'm here because I love Clara, and I'm not running anymore. I want to work, to fight for her, and for us. A tense silence filled the room. Mr. Vans rose abruptly, his voice hard and commanding. You have no right to be here. I will call the police. You will be arrested for trespassing. At that moment, Clara stepped forward, her phone held firmly in her hand. Before you do that, listen to this. He played a recording of a recent conversation with her father, his voice clear, cold, threatening Mason, warning him to stay away, and insinuating that he would ruin Mason's life if he didn't leave Clara alone. The room grew heavy with the weight of truth. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. Mr. Van's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. This is blackmail. Clara, you have no idea what you're doing. But the police were already on their way, summoned earlier by Mr. Vans. When they arrived, Clara handed the recording over. The officers listened carefully, their demeanor shifting from suspicion to caution. After a private conversation, the police informed Mr. Vans that without clear evidence of wrongdoing by Mason, they could not make an arrest. Any attempts to intimidate or threaten would be documented, and could lead to charges. Defeated and glaring, Mr. Vans turned on his heel and left the house, his power momentarily broken. Clara exhaled, relief flooding through her. She reached out and took Mason's hand. Outside, the estate seemed emptier than before, its grandeur overshadowed by the struggle that had just unfolded within its walls. They stood together on the steps, hands clasped tightly. The future was uncertain, but for the first time it belonged to them both.